Welcome to the Faith Together podcast, sponsored by the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. We are continuing our Advent series, and I'd like to welcome my friend Lindsey.
Hi, Leon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you and great to be here in the midst of our Advent series. It's been a wonderful, special series so far.
It has, and we've been working on some themes and having some guests, and none of that changes today.
Right. We're going to continue on in our Oh Holy Night series, and we've been focusing on the season of Advent. Even though Christmas Day is a day, we want to focus on the season that Advent brings to us of anticipating Jesus's arrival. And so we've had some wonderful guests. Last week we got to chat with Ryan Green, chaplain at Olivet. And then the weeks before that, we had our friend Megan from Shine and our friend Braxton from Olivet as well. And so if you've not heard those episodes, we greatly encourage you to go back and listen, because we're walking through the Christmas story. We started with Mary.
Yep.
And then went to Joseph, went to the shepherds, and now we're going to kind of fast forward the Christmas story to the Wisemen. But before we get there, we want to welcome today's special guest, Abby Bennett from Shine FM. Hi, Abby.
Well, hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're so glad that you're here, Abby. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about what you do here at Shine?
Sure. So I am on Shine.fm middays. You might hear my voice 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. Also do a Sunday morning show 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. But the best part of my job is working with listeners and donors, just getting to connect with people in the name of Jesus and encourage them. And so I also apparently get to do fun things like this, which is awesome. So thank you.
Well, we're so glad to have you here. And
Yeah,
we were
we
just
certainly
saying, why did it take us this long?
Yeah, that's right.
So we're so glad to have you here, Abby. And before we get to our Advent conversation, we like to have a little fun on Faith Together, right, Leon?
That's right.
And so we are going to play a little game we like to call Festive Four. And the way it works is that we're all going to share two of our favorite Christmas things from a specific category. And we joked a few weeks ago that we should really call it the Festive Six, because we've been using our guests as part of this now. It used to be just you and I, Leon.
That's right. And you know, the other thing about this, Lindsey, is that I don't think we've ever said this, but as we share our ideas on this theme, our listeners should be thinking about their own. Hopefully they just do that automatically.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity for them to give thought to what their favorites would be as well.
I love that. So today's category, drumroll please, is favorite Christmas movie.
Favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah, and you can choose two. You can choose two. So, Leon, you want to start us out?
Sure. Okay, so probably my all-time favorite is Charlie Brown Christmas.
Ooh.
That's just, I love, we mentioned this in an earlier podcast. I love that scene with Linus.
Oh, yeah.
When Charlie Brown says, does anybody know what the real meaning of Christmas is all about? And then Linus does his little story of Jesus' birth. And, you know, one of the things I like about it is only Charles Schultz could get away with doing that, you know, on public television, you know, and that kind of thing. And it's one of the few things that still is allowed, you know, on our public television that that focuses on the real meaning of Christmas.
Very true.
Yeah, so I love and it's kind of a fun thing. It's become a tradition in our family that we figure out when it's on and get together and watch it. And love doing that with my grandkids in particular. And then probably my second favorite is the original Home Alone. You know, just it is a classic, and it just lots of fun around the Christmas season. Not real inspiring, so to speak, but fun to watch.
It's inspiring for all the pranksters out there.
There you go.
Lots of prank ideas.
Like they need ideas, right?
It's true. Yeah. How about you, Abby?
Well, I'll kind of follow the pattern here, do one more serious and another a little sillier. I guess I have to go with It's a Wonderful Life.
Ooh.
I love black and whites, but I also just really love the deeper meaning of that story, and that it is centered around Christmas time, but it goes so much deeper into like real life things and how hard things can be, and also the perspective that really is rather biblical in that movie. And then the fun one, I guess, would be Christmas with the Cranks. Just because it's on every year, whether TV or we pop the movie in, and it still makes the entire family laugh, even though we've seen it a million times.
It's so good.
It is.
Yes, I agree. Well, I would share I have so many favorites, but the ones that come to the top for me are, first and foremost, Muppet Christmas Carol. If you've never seen it, you definitely need to make time to watch it. I love the Christmas Carol story for the same reason as It's a Wonderful Life. There's so many, like, what I think would be biblical principles in it of being present, not being defined by your past, and, you know, taking steps for gratefulness and love for your future. And so I love the Christmas Carol story, but the Muppets do it in such a hilarious way and very meaningful. So absolutely love the Muppet Christmas Carol. And then another one that comes to mind, a little more current, but been out, I think, about 10 years now, is The Star. So you can find it. It's an animated movie, and it is on Netflix, I believe, and most streaming platforms. But it follows the story of Mary and her donkey, and then it also parallels at the same time as they're following a star to Bethlehem. The Wisemen are setting up their journey for the star. And so while it is not completely biblically accurate, because we know the Wisemen came later when Jesus was older, I love, there's a lot of really wonderful voice actors a part of it. The music's beautiful, and it's just really engaging for kids. And I've enjoyed watching that each season because it just reminds me of the true meaning of Christmas, Jesus. So that's a good one to kind of tie us into our topic for today, because today we're going to take a look at the story of the Wisemen coming to see Jesus, right? So
perfect.
Yeah, and this is always an interesting part of the story to me, Lindsey. You know, it's like you said earlier, they come later. Right? And it's interesting how they've kind of throughout kind of the history of the church, they've kind of just been melded into, so every manger scene you get has Wisemen in it, right? And they weren't there in the manger. In fact, they probably were, you know, he was in a home by then, maybe a couple years old or so, as we think Jesus would have been. And it's funny because you remember that I shared with you that we have manger scenes all over our houses, all over our house. And in every one of them, the Wisemen are somewhere else in the room, so they're not put together. So it's like they're still traveling.
Yes, you inspired me. I do that now.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You inspired me.
Yeah, I wanted my kids as they were growing up to just have that understanding, so that they grew up with not just a misunderstood part of the story. Now, the Wisemen play a key part. I don't want to discount that, and we're going to talk about that today. But just a reminder to our listeners that the Wisemen are an after event.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so when we think about the song, "O Holy Night," that our series is named after, we want to focus on the lyric in the song that says, "Led by the light of the star," today. And so we're going to just take a moment and center our hearts in the story of the Wisemen. So, Abby, would you read Matthew 2, verses 1 to 12?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It says, "The visit of the wise men. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.' When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet, 'And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. And from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly, and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, 'Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word that I too may come and worship him.' After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way."
Thank you so much. When you picture the wise men, Abby, I'm curious, what comes to your mind? Do you think of those nativity scenes?
Yeah.
Do you think of a movie, or does something else jump out to you?
I'd say probably the classic nativity, which ironically, as you guys already mentioned, is not even accurate. Like, we don't even know that it was a stable. It could have been a cave.
Right.
We just know he was placed in a manger and there were probably animals around. We always had a Veggie Tale set. And so I see the veggies with those things strapped on their heads. But yeah, I guess just the always a set of 3, right? Which we also don't know if there were 3 or more.
Sure.
Probably just set in the nativity.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think about the wise men, I might have been like spent too much time like in historical criticism and all that kind of stuff of biblical stories and things. But I think of these like astrologers who have all these like instruments, and they're studying the star and then trying to triangulate, where it's leading, where it's standing, and all of those kind of things. And I think about the long, long journey. So if Jesus really was close to 2 years old or so, I mean, that's a long journey.
Yeah.
And the dedication that they must have had to do that journey for however long it took them. Quite an impressive feat.
It is. And I think about just the stateliness of them. I think when I picture them in my mind, I see them as like super tall and, carrying the gifts in front of them, which is probably not anything that it looked like, because they were possibly riding camels and, it was an arduous journey to and from. But I think about like the Christmas pageants of my past, and when the wise men walked in, it was always like those glorious robes and
like
the shiniest boxes wrapped in the shiniest paper to make the gold, the frankincense, the myrrh stand out. So, but their commitment is something worth remembering.
Yeah.
In their journey.
They must have been at least somewhat rich if they're bringing these gifts, right? And to take 2 years of time from whatever other life endeavors they would have had, I think illustrates that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So, I find it fascinating the draw of this star. That there was no announcement to them. The angels didn't appear to them. No proclamation, a king is born, we should go find him, but just the star. And there's something about that star that kind of drew them. So Abby, as you think about that, has there been anything like in your life that has drawn you towards something and really maybe not even know why or what it was, but that you just felt drawn maybe by the Spirit in a particular direction?
Yeah, I definitely think the Holy Spirit of God is mysterious in a lot of ways. And sometimes I don't always realize it's from him until I start getting along the way and realizing that this is only possible with God. And so it becomes rather clear that he put that desire in my heart and gave me the opportunity to move forward with it, whatever it is. Sometimes it's a small nudge to talk to a person or send a text message or ask a random stranger if they're okay, which is out of my comfort zone, right? Would rather not, but if I feel it is in my heart to do it and I know it's something good, then where does that come from but God, right? Every good and perfect thing is from him, and he calls us to do good things to other people as well. There have also been bigger moments in my life where I've felt like, wow, I got super specific direction from God on something that was troubling me, or I was coming to him with something that was just on my mind, and he made it so clear like what I had to do. It's not like I opened my Bible and he was like, say this to this person. It was just like in my heart, and I just understood like, I know I need to do this. Yeah. So I went and talked to them, or I had an answer for a question or whatever the case is. And that's been really incredible to me. Like, I know that I didn't come up with that myself. Like, that was for sure God. And in a way, like, my heart is just drawn in a way I can't explain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love to think about just the consistency and repetitiveness of the star continuing to hang in the sky as they're following it. It's like, oh, there it is again. And there it is again. We're going to keep going. And there it is again. And I think in my life too, I've experienced that, where the Lord is drawing me to a decision or to a conversation. And it just keeps popping up.
Right.
You know,
It won't go away.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, I had a conversation with someone and it came up without me trying to bring it up. Oh, okay. And then something else happens and it brings it up and you're like, oh, okay. I think the Lord is trying to get my attention around this certain thing.
Yeah, you have those moments where you're reading something in scripture and it kind of catches your attention, and then all of a sudden you're at church and they're preaching on the same sermon. Then you hear a song on Shine and it's talking about the same thing, and you think, okay, God, I'm getting the message. You know?
Yeah, it's very, very clear when the Lord is drawing us to him in some circumstances, and then in others, it's just super mysterious. And I think the wise men probably experienced both of those as they were journeying to Jesus.
I think of that too, like how it's usually uneasy for me at best, and I'm like terrified at worst, right? I can't imagine what the wise men were feeling like. Should we do this? Did they second guess themselves? Did they, question their accuracy of measurements and, determination of how the star lined up and what it meant? Or were they confident, the whole time that that's what God was calling them to? I mean, this is at least somewhat of a group of people. They could share counsel and seek the Lord's wisdom, but they were so confident that they took off on this journey, paused their lives and then went across a land to who knows where. They didn't even know where they were going. They stopped by Herod and they were like, hey, do you know what's happening here? And Herod was like, no, but this is news to me. And the Lord still guided them all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you wish you could be in their tent, like the tent conversation in the evenings
on the journey?
Yeah. Just like, oh, what are we doing? Where are we? And yes, that's such a good point.
Our listeners may be wondering, there may be people wondering, how do you know that? I mean, like, how do you know when God is directing you a particular way? This is a question I get a lot from students who really want to seek out God's will, and they're just not sure what it is. And so there was a chapel speaker this semester, and I don't remember who it was, but he used the image of sitting at Jesus' feet. And usually, when I talk to students, my language, it has been, you need to be spending time with Jesus. If you're not spending time with him, you're not going to know his voice when he speaks. And I think that communicates at one level, but this idea of sitting at Jesus' feet and thinking through, okay, what if I in a literal way sat at Jesus' feet, what kinds of things would be going on? One, I would hear him speaking. We would talk together. There would be this sense of awe of just being in his presence. There would be times that I wouldn't even need to speak, just kind of sit there. And I don't think I would want to leave quickly in any sense of that. And I'm wondering if our lives can be like that when we sit at Jesus' feet, it gives us an opportunity to talk to him, for him to talk to us, to sometimes just be quiet and be in reverence of the moment, be in awe of that moment and not want to leave quickly. And so I wonder, if these wise men experienced some of that, they knew the star because they had been spending time with God, and in the Hebrew scriptures and aware of that. I don't even know, if they even knew this God, to be honest with you. But I wonder if part of that if that's part of their story.
Yeah, I think that there's so much wisdom to that, Leon, and there's so many moments in our lives that we just want to figure it out.
Yeah.
We just want the quick answer. We just want God to tell us this way or that way, and sometimes he does, but many times, most times in my experience, it's a journey.
Yeah.
A journey that you're on with him, to listen to him, to be still, to know that he will lead you and he is guiding you. And it's such a good reminder to all of us in this busy time of year of what it looks like to just stop and to say, okay, I may not know all the answers, but I can continue to follow him and listen to him. And like the wise men were on a very long journey, it's going to be, for most of us, a long journey of figuring out those next steps, but that he's with us along the way. And another really sweet piece to the story of the wise men is the gifts, of course, you know, the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh, and them traveling with those. You know, in ancient times, it seems people traveled pretty lightly. You know, they didn't need a lot with them when they would go from town to town and would move pretty quickly. However, with the wise men, they're bringing along these gifts, and that was significant because that was something they had to plan for, I'm sure, on the travel logistically. And so I think about in our own journeys as we're following the Lord and we're listening to him, following his star, so to speak, his spirit in our lives, what might bringing our gifts look like to him today? What are those things that we can bring to him in the midst of the questions, in the midst of the everyday life that we're just putting one foot in front of the other and trusting him? What do you think about that, Abby? What do you think?
I relate a lot to what you guys were just describing, you know, certain seasons in my life when it kind of came to a fork in the road and I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I just wanted like a text message from God, you know? It was two probably equally good options, and that makes the decision harder, right? It's not like good or bad or sin or no sin. It's like God could be honored either way. What am I supposed to do? And what if I make the wrong decision? And I'm an overthinker, so you can imagine how much worse that makes it. And I just got some great wisdom during those times is like, that's what faith is. Like if you just had every answer easy, you'd just coast right along and do everything you're supposed to do. And it wouldn't be a journey. You wouldn't grow. And so I think bringing our gifts to God are those prayers that are honest, you know, I need you. Can you help me? Here's what I have to offer. And I know it's not much, but I know that you can do much with little. Also, like people talk about time, talent, and treasure. It doesn't have to be what you have. It can be what you offer to give. It could be your personality or your smile or the job that you have or the skill set that you have and how that can be a blessing to the people around you. And anything in God's hands is perfectly like full of worth. Nothing goes to waste, and God is always eager to redeem what is broken and multiply what is already good.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah. So when I think about gifts that I want to give to Jesus, I don't know anything else than myself. And I think what I mean by that is that I remove myself from the center of my life, and Jesus gets to be the center. And what I do in my life is in response to who he is and what he's doing. I think that's what God asks of us is to say, okay, I've saved you, but I want so much more than just to like rescue you. I want to be the one that shapes who you are, that speaks into your life, that helps you become the person I created you to be. And we seek that out on our own, and we terribly fail at that. And so, I think when I think of this question, Lindsey, it's about giving our lives.
Yeah. And truly following him.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the journey. I like the journey language. Yeah. So it's not really about a destination. I mean, kind of, if we want to think of it this way, heaven comes with salvation. So it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about that. What we really need to focus on is how does God want to use us in the world right now to make a difference, and how do we allow him to make that difference in us first before we try to make a difference in his world?
Yeah.
Yeah, bringing his kingdom here. He is our Emmanuel, came down to be with us. And so now we get to share who he is where we are. And I love to think about it too as a journey. And many times the Lord in my life leads me in a direction, not so much a destination, but it's here. I want you to follow me on this path. I'm drawing your heart towards this for a purpose, and I'll show you what it is eventually.
Yeah. You only get the next step, not the whole picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there's trust, there's giving our lives, there's giving our time, our treasure, our talents right where we are. All of it matters on this journey with him. And remembering that picture of just sitting at his feet, like you were saying, Leon, just saying, okay, Lord, here I am. And I think this Christmas, there's no greater prayer to pray of just, Lord, what do you want for my life? What do you want for my family's life, for my kids' lives? Show us that direction. Show us that, draw us to you in those places that maybe we've been more self-centered than we'd like to admit.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about like giving yourself, right? Jesus gave himself, like he is the gift. And so if we are captured by his love and rescued in his salvation, then of course our lives are going to reflect that and become more and more like that sacrificial love that is a gift to others as well.
Yeah, it's just an embodiment. You know, Jesus is an embodiment savior. Like he came to be with us. And so we get to be that. We get to have that experience with him of saying, okay, we give ourselves to you. And that's a beautiful, humbling place to be.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, Abby, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice talking with you. And as you've been listening today, if you're a little intrigued by the focus on Advent, maybe that's not something you do in your family on a regular basis. You kind of participate in it at church, but you don't do it personally. We encourage you to check out our curriculum on celebrating Advent as a family. It's available on our website at centerff.com, and it's free. Now, it's designed really to be used in a small group of parents, but if mom and dad want to just check it out on their own, you're welcome to do that. It just requires a login, and it's that simple. So again, it's centerff.com if you're interested in that, and you can find our other curriculum there as well. Well, one of our closing traditions of our Advent series is for Lindsey to read from a children's, well, not always a children's, I guess it is mostly a children's Christmas storybook, right?
Yes.
And so you've been on a theme of The King is Coming.
That's right.
You want to give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, so I've been reading from the same book each episode this year. This book is called The King is Coming, and it is a book that goes along with a set of Advent blocks, which you can find out about at our first episode of this series that we did together. But Advent blocks are basically a way to count down the days of Advent with your family and focus on the story of Jesus.
And each one of those blocks corresponds with a story in this book. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So today I'm going to read the story of the Wisemen. Says God was coming to earth to stay, but he needed to tell everyone about it. If you were God, what kind of sign would you use? Would you send everyone a message on the phone? Maybe use the intercom at all of the schools? God didn't do any of that. God used a star. On the night the baby king was born, God put a bright star in the heavens, brighter than any star anyone had ever seen. And far away in the east, a group of wise men saw the star. They knew this star was God's sign. It meant that God was sending a king to make the wrong things right and the dark things light. Emmanuel, God with us. The next morning, the wise men packed their bags with the most special gifts they had: gold, which looked wonderful, frankincense, which smelled wonderful, and myrrh, which tasted wonderful. They hopped on their camels because cars hadn't been invented yet, and they started their journey. God guided the wise men by the light of the star. Even when it was hard, even when they got a little lost, even when the journey stretched on for months and months and months, God was with them. When the star stopped over a town called Bethlehem, the wise men were surprised. Bethlehem wasn't an important city. It wasn't a big city, but that's where the star pointed, to a little house on a little street in the little town of Bethlehem. It wasn't what they expected, but I'm sure you know by now that God often does things we don't expect. The wise men looked at the house. They looked at each other. They looked at their expensive, fancy, wonderful gifts. Then one of them began to chuckle to himself. It was contagious. Before long, all of the wise men were laughing great big belly laughs of joy. As the laughing died down, one of the wise men opened an ancient scroll and sang, "For such a long time, God seemed far away. But now he has heard what we hoped and we prayed. God is coming to earth to stay. By the time he got to the last line, everyone had joined in, singing their hearts out. It was as lovely as any Christmas carol you've ever heard. It made the people inside the house curious. So they opened the door, and who do you think was inside? It was Jesus. So, Abby, as we wrap up today's episode of the Faith Together podcast, we want to just give our listeners a reminder of what we're all about, especially this time of year as we focus on Jesus and who he is this Advent season. Will you close us out?
When building faith, we are better together.